Hello. Nice to see you again, and welcome back. I'm still tiny bit setting up because I didn't forget, but I thought that 10 minutes would be enough for me to set everything up. I was incorrect, but that's okay. I'm almost done. So you're gonna have to wait a tiny bit. I'm sorry about that. Alright. Everything should be set up. I'm just checking. You can hear me, right? Okay. I will hopefully take that as a yes. How are you today? Tiny bit tired, but otherwise feeling pretty well. Quite Thank you. What about you? How are you? Alright. Setup has been complete. One more thing to change because I was a tiny bit curious. Loud and clear. That's good to hear, thank you. Oh god, that's okay, no, that's gonna be too loud. I'm sorry. Let's try that one. Aww. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you managed to get a bit of rest during today's stream. Maybe grab a cup of tea for yourself? I have one. Maybe some snacks, a fruit bowl. Anywho, today I think I will do one more thing with the background. I'm going to not abandon this for now, but yeah, just put it to the side for now. I will deal with that later and decide at the very end whether I actually want it in the picture or not. But yeah, for now, the very last thing I want to say is just give a bit more life to the background, because currently it looks very pretty. I absolutely adore it, but something is missing. Not yet sure what, but something is definitely missing. I think it was quite potentially just a different color, because it looks a tiny bit monotonous now. I don't know, we'll have to experiment and see. I'm having blueberry tea. It's actually quite nice. It contains one of my favorite types of teas. Unfortunately, I did run out of my favorite one. And they were all in the same package. It was like a tea assortment, and they were all kind of fruit teas. I had strawberry tea in that one. I had the blueberry. I had raspberry tea, and my favorite one was peach tea. It tasted so much like iced tea, especially if you added a tiny bit of honey into it. It's so good. Well, if anything, that definitely adds a bit of interest to things. My gosh. No. Can't I lower the opacity? No. Conical. No. Spiral. I don't feel like I'm doing the poor thing justice. It is pretty, but no. And what kind of tea are you gonna be having? Not entirely bad, but I think I will just stick with this. You know, I think that makes it look a tiny bit more interesting, just adding a few more different colors to the sky and background a bit. I think it's not bad. I like this. I like this. And now... Oh. too tired to do that, eh? Well, I am encouraging you to go downstairs and get yourself a cup of tea. It soothes the soul. Who knows, it might help you get over your tiredness. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. You kinda do have to experiment with it. Visual interest, huh? You know, I think that looks pretty nice. Alright, time to close up this chapter and get started on perhaps the moon. Yep. Let's get started on the moon. Question is just how. I know it's a very good question. Probably a masking layer would be nice to add on top of it. Masking layer is basically just no, not that one. I think that no. Which one was it? Good question, I know. I think it should be this one, but it's not. Huh. Does that go to both? Have I been bamboozled? That's probably not the right word to use that word, so don't mind me too much. But yes, apparently I have been tricked into believing that you have to have it above things. Oh well, it's fine. Now we have a nice masking layer that I can just draw on top of the moon. Look at that. You know, I think I should start with just making the line art for the poor moon a bit nicer. Because currently it stands out a lot, which is not nice. Wrong lock. Oh, yep, that's question is whether I want it completely transparent and without lines, or, you know, a tiny bit tiny bit visible. For now, a tiny bit visible is good, and if I decide that I don't want it visible, I can always just come back. I think that's a fair trade-off. Anyways, what kind of shadows do we have? We have kind of blue shadows. Nice and cool shadows. A blue moon? A blue moon, you say? Oh no! Oh, that looks cursed. Nope. But there you can have your blue moon a tiny bit. But anywho, if I remember correctly, there was something about the sketch. Yep, there was a tiny bit of a layer where Luna could actually sit, so have to be very careful to actually incorporate that. Let's see how that's gonna go, shall we? I am drawing on the correct layer, yes. You know, I cannot add to, I will probably have to tone down the shadows quite a bit, since if you think about it, this is an object that illuminates, emits, reflects, does something with light. So I cannot just have it this sheer. I probably will have to take down the light quite a bit. You know, it's a different question how exactly I want to do things, though. Not yet sure, if I'm gonna be honest. Because, yeah, I don't think that's correct. Although is it? Background, come back. Maybe I should call this a different thing instead of just moon mask. I'm going to sketch on top of it a bit because I need to figure out how to do the shadows. Okay. So we have this first, which is kind of a ledge. There will definitely be a hard separation of some kind of shadow here. And genuinely, I think it might be better to put the shadows here as the... I cannot draw that, but it's fine. The clouds will reflect back a lot. So there will be shadows here as well, but they will be a lot softer. So go up here, shadow gets lighter, maybe shadow here gets darker, and then this is just a lighter shadow. So the shadow here would be the most prominent. The shadow here would be a tiny bit less prominent until we get up here where it would be actually more prominent, and this is where it would separate, but this is a soft surface, so it would switch very lightly. And also, since this is reflecting, there will be a bit of section here that is more illuminated, and probably here too, and here. And once again, soft surface. Okay, did we get all that? Because I sure as heck did not. But I'm gonna try anyways, so wish me luck. Maybe using a textured brush to apply the shadow was a bad idea. But then again, I don't want it to have normal texture because that's kind of boring. This is a moon rock. No matter how you look at it, the moon is a gigantic rock. You know, maybe I really should have different do I have a masking group? Add paint, clone, vector, filter, filter layer. You know, I have a stupid idea that might actually work at group layer. Or maybe not. What is this? Okay. Maybe it works. We will have to see. I'm afraid to see. Ooh. Yeah, I'm once again trying out different filters because I'm curious. Would be nice, but it's yellow. Soft light. Where is linear dodge? Hoo-hoo! Fancy. No, not binary, darken. Ooh, linear pen. That just makes it look sick. I think this one is better in general. And hopefully it will turn out well, but we will see that very soon. Okay, now I am curious if it actually works. Oh my gosh, the grouping actually worked. Oh, I am so good. No, I am not. Don't believe it. Don't believe a word I say. Yeah, no, that looks horrible. Even if I put down the opacity to barely anything, that doesn't look right. No, I don't like it. I would probably have to add it on this, wouldn't I? Saving it is. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm kinda unsure how to go about this at the moment. Because I don't think the approach I'm trying to use is correct. Or maybe it is correct and just don't exactly have the skill level to do it. But doing it on this layer was not exactly good either. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to separate it from the very beginning, and that would have solved quite a few problems, but live and learn, live and learn. Looking for a reference is not going to solve the technical issue of how am I going to apply 2 layers of shading for different sections of the whole thing. Unfortunately. I mean, maybe it's... questionable, honestly, questionable. The problem is with application, not lighting itself. I know what I want. I have it well in my head. The problem is more so with how I'm trying to put it on the whole. You know what, I'm going to try with this first. And then worst case scenario, I just start over. I mean, I've started over with 2 things so far, so 3rd time's the charm. Maybe if I do it the 3rd time, I won't ever have to do it again. Wouldn't that be funny? looks sickly. I like the idea, not the execution. It's not bad, but it's not exactly feeling like something that fits. Once again, I do like the idea, just not the execution. Adjusting the colors does seem to help a tiny bit. So far this one is the most normal looking of them all. You know, it is kinda growing on me. It is missing one more thing though. One very important thing. Flair. Because you cannot go around being a glowy object thingy without having a bit of flair, right? Yeah, no, it is absolutely growing on me. It's a tiny bit wonky though. And not bad wonky, just wonky. I'm gonna add more flair to the parts that also reflect a bit more. What do you think? You think so? Alright. Then I shall go with this and hope that this is okay. You know, I'm kinda curious what happens if I just add this one back in. Yeah, I still don't know what to do with that one. That's fine. Alright. Renaming that one to Flare. And now, moving on to you. The only piece of the puzzle that is still out of place, huh, buddy? First, I will once again change the line out a tiny bit. Now you're probably going to have to be darker since you're not exactly a glowing object. We'll see how... Ooh! Oh, that's kind of pretty. Look at you. Maybe something a tiny bit... Nah, previous one was better. Oops, sorry about that. I'm just gonna quickly add it to the base colors. No, become tiny. Although I probably should add the front color for the jewelry because, come on. When have you seen jewelry that has the same line art as the wearer? Yeah, that looks nice. I'm gonna add it as a base color as well. Make it tinier, please. Thank you. Maybe it will change, maybe it won't. Depends. Mask for this one as well. This one is empty, so it can go in there. Now to add the shadows. I think the shadows for you are gonna be a bit easier to add, maybe. You definitely do need the blue shadows. your shadow is papery. You're kind of surrounded by light, so that's actually a hard ask, but first let's lay down the overall shadow so that there is actual shape to the whole being. I feel like for this section the shadow would be somewhere around here. Same here. Maybe this whole section would be in shadow. And as for this, it would be somewhere here. There would be a tiny bit of shadow in there that I think would also follow here. And also on the back side, right here. But yeah, it will very quickly die out. You are leaning forward, so the shadow would probably be somewhere here. Same with this one. this one is a harder shadow, so I don't think I will do much with it. Just correct it a tiny bit so that it doesn't look as jagged. You know, it's been so long that I used the smudge tool that I don't exactly remember which one it was. Which is mildly alarming. Surely I had it in my setup. Oh, that might be it. No, I doubt it. It is. And I guess this is it. Now you've had tools that you haven't used in a while and you just forget where they are too. Yeah, you know, that's very fair. There's like two brushes that I use on the regular. One of them is this, and this one I'm sometimes getting annoyed by because its opacity is not up to standard, and I usually do my line art with it, so I need crisp and not see-through lines. And the other one is just this. Oh yeah, and of course don't forget the erasers. This honestly would be perfect for a gem, but this is a fox, as far as I can tell. You know, I might be wrong though. Is this actually a gem? Are you a gem? Are you a crystal gem? No, I didn't think so either. Alright, I guess time to look through what I have available. I am genuinely glad I am entertaining enough for you to laugh. I am... Oh. I have found it. Perfect. You are going into my favorites. Q-tip. Assign to tag. My favorites. Okay. You are in there. Nice. Fox gem. Make that G a J instead, and then you can put them on toast. They become nutritious. Yum. Please do not eat my OC. Do not eat my mascot. I don't think that's a good idea. I may be spouting nonsense over here, but still, do not eat. Under no circumstances should you eat my OC. They are not good for your health. Did you put my poor fox on toast? Is my fox toast? My fox became toast. Yeah, to be honest, lava looks, or magma, no, lava is, it's lava because lava is the one that's above the surface. Lava looks tasty too, and yet I don't eat it because I know if I would, I will die. If you eat this fox, you will probably not die, but I don't think it will do anything good for your tummy. Do not eat the fox. will add a tiny bit to their snout as well, because that one has dimensions too. They need a bit of dimensionality. That tail end actually can be a bit more engulfed, I think. That one cannot. Whoa. You know, I've been warned against linear burn. I do not remember why. Should that be concerning? Maybe a tiny bit. But you know what? So far so good. Maybe I will adjust the colors a tiny bit. You know, make the parts that are supposed to be some kind of blue. Oh wait, I'm adjusting the opacity on the wrong way, the wrong thing. You know, that's not bad. And one last thing that I'm going to adjust a tiny bit is the shadow for this one, because that looks a tiny. Yeah, no, it's fine. think this looks fine. I think I will do a bit of adjusting on this one. Yeah, that looks better. I forgot to take a color swatch. Color swatch. Swatch. Oh wait, I used something different. I am silly. Very, very silly. I'm currently just adding a tiny bit more shading to places I perceive need them. I think this became too... looks good. Time to add light. this is starting to look kinda nice. Alright, that's part of it. Curious. Normal is fine. Just I'm just adding a tiny bit more in places. Okay. One last step. And then I think I'm done with Luna. Now the only thing remaining is this one. Quite honestly, I don't really like it that much. It looks pretty and all, but not entirely sure if I want to add it. Maybe just those two? Okay, how about I... Let's transform this one a tiny bit, shall we? I have a potential idea. To what could be done with it. No, that doesn't change anything. Then you know, I could accept this one. It's not overpowering and it kind of blends into the background. Yeah, like so. Yep. Alright. I know I went over the half an hour limit, but 1.5 hour limit, but I really wanted to finish this at this point because we were so close, and here we are, the finished product, besides my signature. No, not the line art. Looks good. Turn it around a tiny bit. That looks like Lunay. I'm glad you enjoy it, but unfortunately I do have responsibilities I have to take care of, so there is somewhat of a limit. If not for the viewers, then for me. Alright. Well, this is the finished product. I probably will take a break next week because I will have to put together the speed paint and put it up on YouTube, so you know, being able, other people might be able to experience it if they have a shorter attention span. Plus I have to upload it to Instagram. But this is the final product. I hope you've enjoyed it. And with that, thank you so much for watching. And I shall go. I hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.